Hello, everybody. We're back. Another week, episode 17, volume 4. How you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing great. How are
Batman?
you? Oh, I'm doing great too. How are you?
I'm good. So we're safe today. Anybody wants to come bother us, I got Batman. Keep us safe.
Heck yeah. Look at these guns.
He's been working out during
Working on the gun show? Ugh. Ready.
Is that what you do all day during quarantine?
Just doing this.
Pump your muscles.
Just do it. That's all you got to do. And if I go fight crime.
Go fight crime.
Go fight for crime for several hours.
There's a lot of crime in Pasco County you can fight.
Yeah, there's plenty around everywhere right now.
So yes, we're back with another week. How was your week from last week's show?
Pretty darn quick since we're filming this ahead. Sorry, we're not live today.
We're live.
We're live.
We're live.
We're live now.
Yeah, we're live now. But when you see this, I'll actually be halfway up to Tennessee because we're going up there for a little vacation. So
wonderful. So yeah, enjoy that. We're going to be working on. We're securing locations for Erie Travels now. So everything's reopening. We've actually been able to get quite a few places lined up, and we're setting that schedule so we can actually get back to filming for that.
Episode. We're going to film soon for that.
That'll be fun. That and fighting crime.
Fighting crime?
Yeah.
So, again, if you... we're missing someone today,
yes,
sadly.
Poor Miss Elizabeth.
She was unable to
Elizabeth
make it this
Abbott,
week.
My partner and editor, and sadly was just having a bad day. You know, it was a tough night fighting crime. I'm not going to give away her secret identity, Batgirl. But she couldn't make it today, so...
Okay, so for your Batman, she's back. Am I Robin?
You just keep thinking, Mike, that's what you're good at. It's all good. So,
Bat Boy.
It's okay, Batmite.
So, if you want to email us, be a guest on the show sometime. If you want to be a cosplayer of the week, you can email us at home@comicbook101tv.com and info@comicbook101tv.com. Again, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Comic Book 101 TV. You can find us all on that.
Yep.
You can find Mark where?
ErieFlorida.com. That's where we're at. Erie Travels will be coming soon, but you can just follow, you can get the links to everything from ErieFlorida.com. So
especially go to the site. He has some killer books out there. I love reading.
There's
his
a few
books.
of them. So
I got 2. I need to get the other ones.
We
complete the whole thing.
Yeah, we've been on a couple podcasts recently. The Great Phantasmagoria did one of their lockdown shows that was all ghost stories from Erie, Florida. That was timed with fire dancing and all Victorian style. We love those guys. So, you can find a lot of our stuff there. So
definitely check that out. Now, let's go ahead and mention show supporters. We have Jeff and Holly Collectibles. They're right across the hall from us. Check them out on Facebook. They got a lot of awesome pops there. None there on the table this week, actually, from them. But I picked up the other week a Jason David Frank autograph pop, Green Ranger pop there. We got the Millennium Falcon pop that we had on the show last night there for Nerd Talk. It was awesome.
When do they open officially?
I am not sure. They're over there today right now. I was going to go over there before the show, but I never did because I know if I go over there, I'm going to spend more money.
Understood.
Yeah. But our other supporters, Yancey Street Comics over in the mall in our town, they're open. They're happy to be back. Comics start coming out next week. Well, this week that you're seeing us, comics will be back on the shelves again.
Yeah, starting that Wednesday. So
it's a good thing to get the comics back on the shelf. Coliseum of Comics in Orlando is open. Moshe's doing a lot out there with their shop, doing a lot of meet and greets soon there. And again, you can check out Erie, Florida.
Yeah, that's where find our books, find our stuff.
So let's start with Cosplayer of the Week. We got this is new. We have 2 Cosplayer of the Weeks this week.
Our first is TJ, and I'm trying to remember his last name. TJ, not TJ Miller.
TJ.
We just know him as TJ. Everybody knows him as TJ. But what got him into cosplay is he just wanted to make the world a little better than when he found it. His favorite cosplay is actually Captain America. Why does he like to cosplay? He likes to cosplay because it gives him the opportunity to help underprivileged and terminally ill children. And his future cosplay is working on a brand new Captain America. And he worked with us at Hellview Cemetery back when we were doing it for Kind Mouse and a couple other local charities. So that was where he started. At his Instagram or Facebook, he doesn't really have a personal one, but he usually works with Costumers with a Cause. So follow the Costumers with a Cause Instagram and Facebook, and you can find his stuff. And as you can see, he does an amazing Batman. He was a Dracula for us back at Hellview days, and he's been in the scene a long time.
TJ's a great guy,
and just really good guy.
There's a photo if it comes back, hopefully. That photo right there.
Yeah, it's pretty epic.
So great editing and everything.
Yeah.
His bat suit's awesome. I know he had the Batmobile that he made for a while.
Yeah, for a while. Yeah, I think that one's still making the rounds. Yeah, he sold it to another costumer. So, yeah, he teams up. Costumers with a Cause are always an amazing group. So
yeah, we interviewed them when we were at Sci-Fi Bartow.
Oh yeah,
they were there.
Yeah,
and we talked to them.
They hit all the local conventions and stuff. They're big. So
they're a good little group to help out.
Yeah.
And the other cosplayer we have is JLS Barber, a good friend of mine, Joshua. So let me find my notes. They moved. There they are. What got him into cosplay was his friends took him to MetroCon over 10 years ago, and seeing the creativity and the costumes from all of his favorite series come to life, he wanted to be a part of that. It's such a unique creative outlet, not just form of constructing your costume, but being able to act out all these characters and also be able to surprise and elate people with all the costumes. It's a beautiful moment. He's actually eyeing a Witcher cosplay, which is kind of out of left field for him, but it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. He said plus he gets to wear the color contacts. It'll be his first time using them.
I know that Catwoman.
And actually, one of those photos is one of my photos I took of him.
Oh, very nice.
It's, I want to say it's a shoot we did in Ybor with him and Catwoman.
Always good. So Ybor's a great place to film.
Yeah, Ybor has a nice love alleys and everything.
Yeah.
But he's a great cosplayer and everything. Good friend. There's my photo right there, actually.
Nice.
I remember doing that shoot that day. It was me and Ego Photography doing a cosplay shoot with them.
Nice.
So it was a fun time. But definitely go check out their Instagram, Facebook pages and everything. So if you couldn't tell, I think we have a theme today.
I think we've noticed the theme today.
Who are we talking about? Are we talking about Joker?
Holy
Baby Yoda.
Holy bat symbols, Batman. We are talking about The Dark Knight.
So what actually got you into Batman?
Well, that's, it's you look back and you try to remember that one thing that got you into something. And I think it was my father showing me reruns of the classic 66 series. This is what actually, I think, started me on the comics journey. And it's funny because that show was designed as a sitcom. So it was 2 nights a week, all this, and they always had Batman get in a cliffhanger at the end of every episode, so that you'd have to stay for the next episode later in the week. Huge cultural phenomenon. By this time, that had passed, and it was in reruns. And this is back when we only had 4 channels, so I was desperate for entertainment, and I would watch that with my father, and my father would be on the couch laughing his head off at the jokes. But to me, I was so young, the jokes were flying over my head. And I thought, oh my God, Dad, stop! This is serious. Batman's in trouble. The Riddler's got him. How's he getting out of this? And Dad would just be laughing at the puns and the stuff. Now, years later, I'm doing the same thing. I'm showing this same show to my daughters when they were younger, and it was the same thing. And that's when it hit me. They were getting the jokes. They were into it. And it hit me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is what was going on with me all that time." So, yeah, that's what got me into it, and then I got into the comics. And as I matured, my tastes matured in Batman. It was so I fell in love with when I started buying comics myself, it was right around the Neil Adams Batman. So that really the true Dark Knight detective hit me, and that was like, okay, yeah, that was. But that was how I got into Batman. So.
Yeah, I remember as a kid watching the reruns of Batman because I wasn't born when the first Batman show came out. So I remember going over to my friend Jeff's house. We would watch the shows, loved it. But it wasn't until '89 when Michael Keaton, the first movie came out, that I really became hooked on Batman. Because then you got the little darker, grittier side of Gotham City and everything. And I fell in love with Batman.
Had been going on in the comics for a few years before that, but nobody knew.
Yeah.
And that's just it.
At that time, I wasn't reading comics. I don't even think there was... The only comic shop I could remember in that time period in Orlando when I grew up was Enterprise 1701.
Enterprise, yeah.
But at the time, I didn't ride my bike up there. That was a good distance from where I lived.
Yeah.
But I wasn't in Comic Sans.
Where I used to sell my stuff to pay rent. All the stuff I had bought in the 70s went to Enterprise 1701, and what's his name? Mike up there was.
So why do you like Batman? What makes Batman a good superhero to you, unlike other ones?
And I think it's the same reason everybody likes Batman that likes Batman, is that he's a guy.
Yeah, he's just a normal person. He has no superpower.
He's like kind of the Tony Stark. He's got a ton of money that he inherited, but he built on it himself. And and then he's a normal guy. If and it's one of those, if a billionaire had access to funds, we like to think we would go out and do charitable works. We would go out and do things. We wouldn't go out and fight crime. But then he's got that motivation, the killing of his parents, the not doing something when he could have. He feels like that, and so that drives him. And so that drives all of us. And the fact, he's a great detective, he's an escape artist, he's a magician. That's why I learned magic, was so I could be like Batman. And then, he's the world's martial artist. I probably should have taken some martial arts if I wanted to do that further, but that was actually hard. And then detective work. Of course, we all read Sherlock Holmes. We all read that. And of course, he's direct tie. I know we're going to get it in the comments. Yes, he was inspired by The Shadow and all these other, things. Yes, that's true. But that's why we love them too. So,
yeah, it's pretty much the same reason, because he didn't have any of the superpowers. He wasn't like Superman or anybody else. He was just a normal person, just trying to do his best fighting crime.
Yeah.
This one gets everybody, because everybody has a different answer. Who's your favorite Batman actor?
Oh gosh.
And that includes voice actor too.
Oh yeah, so voice actor, it's no question, it's Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
Kevin Conroy is Batman. I mean, I'll admit, I like the stuff Diedrich Bader's been doing on Harley Quinn, that he used to do on Brave and Bold.
Yeah.
He's made him from a caricature to an actual character.
And you said, Kevin, the episode, because of the Flash crossover they did last year, he came back as Old Man Bruce Wayne.
Old Man Bruce.
So it's actually good to see him finally as
Batman.
He wasn't Batman, but he was still Bruce Wayne, just old, tired, just lost faith in the world.
And he's amazing. Kevin Conroy is probably he's one of those unsung guys. He never did anything before. He had never done any real voice acting before that. Got lucked into the role with Andrea Romano, who, my gosh, if you look back at anybody who's influenced all of DC, all of Warner Brothers, Andrea Romano, we should do a special on her. She's the voice caster. She did Tiny Toons, Animaniacs.
Oh, I didn't even know
all this, but she does all the animated movies, even to the most recent one, Apocalypse War. She's the casting director, Andrea Romano. But she finds all these people, and it's I gotta say, Peter Weller did an amazing job as Batman in Legends of the Dark Knight, the animated. For live action, I love them all for different reasons. I mean, I'll be honest, I even like Clooney a little bit for his goofy take, because it was like a modern update.
Clooney was a great Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
For Bruce Wayne, he played Bruce Wayne very well.
And he was kind of the update of the Adam West Batman, which was kind of fun. I mean, if they'd said that that's what they were going for, the problem is that one had hit the end of the trail from the others. Michael Keaton is amazing for what he did.
Still my favorite.
He was great for what he did. I think Kilmer doesn't get enough credit, because he was the one and done.
Yeah. He
was fine. I think he did a heck of a job. And I think his argument about it was it could have been anybody in the suit. Because when he got out of the suit, nobody cared. So I can see that argument too. So that's my problem with the modern Batmans, it could have been anybody in the suit. So
problem I have with the modern Batman is the voice.
Yeah.
He just sounds like he has a frog in his throat the whole time.
Yeah. It's like, Lucius, can you loosen this so that it's crushing my larynx? Sorry, everybody on the mic there. Oh my gosh, that's much better, Lucius. Thank you. And I didn't know it was killing me.
He was still a good Batman, don't get me wrong.
Oh, Christian Bale is amazing.
Christian Bale is awesome. The voice just drove me crazy the whole time listening to him.
I even liked some of the parody Batman that have come out. Pete Holmes' Batman, Badman, are amazing. So if you haven't watched those are definitely worth a trip down YouTube lane. Swear to me.
There was a parody I remember watching where Batman's on the roof with, I want to say, Ra's al Ghul's daughter. No, Gordon, I think.
Okay.
And someone else came up and he kept going from Batman to Bruce Wayne.
To changing
and
the hat.
The hat would be on one moment. He's in normal clothes, and like, we know it's you. No, it's not. Oh, wait. And
Yeah.
that was a funny parody.
That's great bits. That whole thing those are amazing things done. And I love that they're kind of done in the Dark Knight tone, which is just, it fits right in. So I would have to go Kevin Conroy, hands down, the best Batman, period. For voice, like I said, Peter Weller did Best Legend of Dark Knight. That movie was probably the best voiced movie that Conroy didn't do.
Yeah.
But even Conroy did the games too, which is amazing. So.
That's what made the games even better, was his voice.
Exactly.
But my favorite actor is still Keaton.
Keaton?
Because that's who I grew up with from the first movie I could see.
Can't argue that. He's amazing, and I'd love to see him back now as old Bruce Wayne. I know they've talked about that.
Batman Begins needs to happen with him as old Bruce Wayne.
I could handle just a new Batman Beyond. You were saying,
Batman Beyond.
I would be fine with him just doing a sequel to Return. Batman Returns, and just pretend like the other ones. Didn't have make it a different verse. Another Earth 3 or whatever. So
I'm fine with that too. So what's your favorite thing about the Batman? Do you love more comics, movies, the books, the toys, the outfit?
I gotta say, Batman is one of those, you can go anywhere in the world
and everybody knows it.
Point to this symbol and everybody, oh, Batman, just like we were talking last week with Star Wars. It's the exact same thing. You can go anywhere and you know who Batman is. And so his iconic, the fact that he is just iconic and part of our culture. I like the stories that show the detective more than the martial artist.
Which that's what we're going to see with the Robert Pattinson movie. It's going to be the detective version of Batman and not the big crime fighter and everything.
See, I'm good with that, and I think the ones that do that. So that's why I kind of liked the animated series so much, because they focused a lot on him doing detective work down in the Batcave and all that, but they still made it interesting, by showing the camera, doing all the hacking back in the big computer buttons in early days, in the early days of internets, in that weird time era that the animated series had, it didn't have anything. But for me, the comics, that's where it all starts. So there are comic stories that I love. So I tend to lean comics, but animated series definitely was my Batman.
Yes, I lean more towards movies and the animated series, because I just enjoy sitting down and watching it. I could binge watch the animated series all day and not even care.
Yeah, the animated
6
movies
hours go by, I'm like, oh wait.
Yeah, animated series. My daughters and I went to it. It was sleep to it every night. It was just a thing we did. Was watched an episode every night before bed. I remember when the final 4th season finally came out on DVD. I was so happy because I didn't have to watch my old VHSs 100 times over. So I know what DC Universe was like. All the high def remasters of all the Batman animated series. I was like, yes, I will do this. And it was only the first 2 seasons, and I was like, but what about this episode? What about this episode? And they were like, that was Batman and Robin, and then that was Batman, The Adventures of Batman and Robin. And it was like, it's still the same damn show. Come on. You got Justice League on there, Justice League Unlimited on there in one show. Why not this?
All right, so Batman, it actually started, he appeared in Detective Comics 27?
27, one of the most valuable comics
1939
of all time.
Originally named Batman. He was created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger.
Right.
So it was great comic there.
Big controversy about that for a long time.
Let's talk about that controversy.
Yeah, if you bought anything Batman prior to mid 2000s, it said Batman created by Bob Kane, and you would go and you would ask anybody who created Batman, and they all go Bob Kane, and then you'd ask who's Bill Finger. And people go, who? Batman without Bill Finger was just a guy in a red suit. He went one weekend. Bob Kane saw what Superman boys were making, the Schuster brothers. Yeah. And he's like, well, they're making like $700 a week back in that 1930s. That's huge money. He's like, I want that. What do I got to do that? So they said, well, we need a hero. So he's an artist, and so he goes home, and he goes to his friend and collaborator and ghostwriter, Bill Finger, and says, we need to come up with a hero. And I've came up with this guy, Batman, and he draws this dude. And Bill's like, okay, well, He's wearing like the mask like Robin wears. He's wearing, he's got just big sticky outy wings and a red, onesie suit. And he's like, well, the red's got to go. If he's Batman, he's got to look like a bat. And then
black.
And he needs some sort of logo on his chest. So they came up with the logo there. Then he's like, and also that mask, that's not going to scare anybody. So he made him the cowl, and then he's like, oh, put him some ears, so he looks kind of spooky. So imagine Bob Kane, without any of that, this is our Batman. And so then he takes it back to DC, which are the pre-company to DC at that time, and shows it to him, and they go, okay, yeah, that's great, we'll take it. And so he's like, so he signs this massive contract, and it always says, it's made by Bob Kane, and he's got the piece of it. Nowhere does it say Bill Finger. So he goes and gives the check to Bill Finger, ghostwriter check. As a former ghostwriter, I understand this. There's a few books out there that have made some money that I wrote, but nobody knows. Ghostwriters are finally getting some play in the modern day, but for a while there. But anyway, they get this check, and he's like, oh, okay, that's a pretty good check, but not what Batman became.
Bob Kane was making.
Yeah, and then when Batman just became huge, and now Bill Finger, creates the Joker. He creates the Riddler. He creates the Penguin. He creates all these villains. He names the city Gotham City. When they need to tone him down, he makes this guy Robin. All this. Nobody, but Bob Kane's getting all the credit for it. Bob Kane, for years, he's like, oh yeah, I made Batman. I did this. And I guess it was when the TV series came out. And Bob got a big boost and a big check. And what was funny is Bob wasn't even drawing the comic anymore. He had ghost artists, and he would sign the art.
Just put his name.
Put his name on it, and that's just coming out. And I don't know Bob Kane, so I don't know if this is. But it seemed to me like he was just being a jerk about it. And Bill Finger finally writes this letter to Batmania, the fan means, because there was no internet back then. So he wrote a letter saying, "I'm the guy who created all this stuff." And then Bob Kane comes out and writes this massive, "No, you didn't, I did," and like this rebuttal, and it goes on. And Bill Finger dies penniless in the '70s and alone. And if you want to learn more of that story, there's an amazing documentary called Batman and Bill, and it's on Hulu, and I highly recommend you watch it. It tells this battle that was secretly going on, and Bill wasn't really battling it. He just
wanted the credit for
it.
He
just wanted some credit. I mean, he wasn't getting any. I mean, and he wasn't even working for, that. The first writing credit he ever got was for the 1966 TV show. He writes one episode of the TV show with a friend. And he was even going to get second billing as a writer. And he went to his friend and said, "Can I just get the top billing of this one time?" And his friend went, "Yeah, sure." And that's his only writing credit.
Wow.
For Batman.
That's sad.
Sad story, but that's the sadness behind Dark Knight. He's the one who kills off Batman's parents and gives them the reason to fight. He's the reason for all this. So yes, back to your regularly scheduled program. My apologies for the rant. So
we've seen many people actually take up Batman from voice actors like Kevin Conroy, Rhino Romero, Anthony Rivaro, I can't pronounce his name, Peter Weller,
Buckaroo
Bruce
Banzai.
Greenwood, Jason O'Mara, Will Arnett did Lego Batman.
Jason O'Mara's done a heck of a job on those animated movies recently. So
then we've seen all the live action people from Lewis Wilson, Robert Lowery, Adam West,
classics.
Michael Keaton, Val, George Clooney, Bruce Thomas, Christian Bale, Batfleck.
I think Ben did a fine job. I just think he had a terrible writing. So
I like Batfleck. I didn't like the movie, but I wish that he actually got to do his own movie.
Yeah,
I would love to see Ben Affleck do Batman.
Oh, his the movie Argo.
Yeah,
that what he won the Oscar for. It is Batman, and that's why when I heard he was getting Batman, I was like, yes, please, because Argo was like watching a Batman movie.
I was very hesitant at first when they announced it, and when I saw him in a suit, I'm like, yep, that's my Batman right there. Yeah. So let's go to some key issues. Detective Comics 38, the first official Batman comic.
Okay, yeah, that was. Because it wasn't just, it was very pulp, very noir, which, again, Bob Kane, Bill Finger doing it together. And
that's when Robin comes up, too.
Yep. and that was just it. He needed to make it they needed to make it a little more family friendly at this point. They
needed a Watson basically for Batman.
Someone to talk to besides Alfred.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they gave it a young, colorful, the boy wonder there. So, or what was what did the Joker used to call him? The boy hostage.
Yeah.
So.
Then the next big comic was in 1952, Superman 76, The Mightiest Team in the World. Batman teams up with Superman for the first time. Discover each other's identity.
Yeah, kind of leading to Justice League and all that. So
pre-Justice League times.
Yeah, and pre-World's Finest. Kind of a crazy story where they're both trying to. It's weird. They're both saving the world, and they both figure out each other's identity like in seconds.
Yeah.
That was redone in one of the animated movies.
I remember that.
They kind of redid that where they both figure each other's identity out pretty quick. And I love that Lois figures out that Batman is Bruce Wayne very quickly, but she still can't figure out.
Can't figure out the guy you're dating, Superman, but you figured that one out. The next one I know is a big one for you, the Neil Adams era.
Yeah, Neil, he reinvents, because at this point, the 66 Batman was fading, out of memory a little bit. Batman was, he had gone camp in the show, in the comics as well, because, hey, they were tying it into the show. And now this was bringing him back as the detective. And he brought this new style to it. He invented a bunch more Rogues Gallery characters that we know and love now. I mean, so many of the classics have been around, Catwoman and all that have been around since Bill Finger days. But Neil starts bringing in Ra's al Ghul, because he's like, Batman needs a Moriarty.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he is Sherlock, and it's just so good. And Ra's al Ghul is like one of my favorite.
It's one of the best villains there is.
Yeah. So it was a Doctor Doom, but so much more. So.
Then we go to Frank Miller's Batman, which gets real dark there.
And if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have the movies we got now, and we wouldn't have the Marvel Universe, I would say.
Yeah.
Because this is what brought light to comics again, was this dark take on
55-year-old Batman coming out of retirement, and
he retired after the death of Jason Todd, and and it was he's just it's a post-apocalyptic Gotham basically, and gangs and crime had fallen everywhere, but he comes back, and that's the story. When that starts making mainstream press is when Tim Burton's finally able to make some traction with what he'd been wanting to do for years, a Batman movie.
Yeah.
And finally Warner Brothers is like, oh, hey, maybe we can milk this. Make it like that comic that's doing so well for us. So I think that's probably been DC and DC's problem, was that they were always a subsidy of Warner Brothers. So it was one of those, well, if it's not making us money, why are we even bothering with it? So
this one I remember coming out. I was in high school at this point still. Nightfall. Because I remember what was it, Batman 500, Breaking of the Bat.
Break of the Bat.
And that's where we are here. Chuck Dixon, that created Bane.
Yeah, Chuck Dixon. He's a local boy here down in Tampa Bay. So
we've interviewed him a dozen hot times.
Yeah, he's super nice guy. But here he creates one of the most amazing characters, a luchador that beats up Batman, and breaks his back, because then it proves it, and it brings back to Batman's mortal. Batman's a normal guy. What's he gonna do?
And that's also when we get Azrael too in the comics.
Yeah, they bring in a guy he'd been training and all that. Kind of, what is it? Was he as a knight? I'm trying to remember Azrael a little bit. But yeah, that's what brought back. Interest in Batman was breaking him instead of killing him. DC kills Superman, but we can't kill Batman. We'll just break him up.
Break him up where he can't do anything,
and he has to rely on his sidekicks and stuff. And then then they break Gotham City.
Yeah,
because they decide, all right, let's destroy Gotham City, and they did an event called Cataclysm,
which that's the comic I have.
That is an amazing story, because it's just like earthquakes. And it's funny because it's all based on there's a villain who's causing earthquakes, but he's using the fault line that leads to the Batcave.
Yeah.
That's what it all boils down to. And then that triggers No Man's Land. which is the greatest run, I think, of Batman.
Which we'll get into shortly.
Yeah.
So we have Killing Joke, which was
yeah.
a huge storyline there.
That was just crazy and influential, and that's, they
That
did
was
it.
a really dark, twisted.
They did it as a
storyline right
one-shot graphic novel, and it wasn't supposed to do continuity when they first did it, but they totally made it continuity because the Joker decides to crush Jim Gordon, and honestly, I don't see this as a Batman comic. I see this as a Joker comic, and with Batman as always the peripheral for the Joker, and but they do terrible things to Babs, and
kidnaps, tortures, or physically, psychology.
Yeah, it takes
it's a dark
pictures of the whole
comic.
thing, and all just to torture Jim Gordon, to see if Jim Gordon will be crazy enough to kill him.
Yeah.
To see if he can make Jim Gordon crazy, the one good man in Gotham, and all this, and to see if Batman will kill him. It's always pushed to see if Batman will kill him. And insane story, amazing, and again, another influential story for years. So.
Another big story was in '88, Death in a Family, because I remember they gave out a 900 number and you could call and vote what should happen to Jason because he was kidnapped by Joker.
Yeah. Now this is not the death of Robin. Again, we were saying Jason Todd, not Dick Grayson, had gone on to become Nightwing by this time. And Jason Todd, a lot of people didn't like him because he was kind of just a naughty little
bad
punk.
Boy attitude.
Yeah. He was. He was stealing tires off the Batmobile. That's
So
why.
I don't think anybody they like him who he becomes afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody.
Spoiler: he doesn't die.
He doesn't die. Well, he did, but
He
then
did, but
DC.
You can never truly die.
You never really die in DC. DC kills death with the death of Superman and all that. So then they all bring everybody back. But then after that, every comic company starts doing it. But yeah, that was that was Jason Todd. So nobody really liked him. So it was when the 900 number came out, it was overwhelming. They said it was down to the wire, but I've heard reports from inside DC it wasn't even close. So
they got to just say down to wire to make you feel good.
Yeah.
Not because if you tell them, oh yeah, everybody wanted him dead, and you're like, well, okay, maybe his character sucked. Nobody liked him.
We'll talk about Jason Todd on a future episode. We'll go into that.
So let's go ahead and talk about No Man's Land. I know you love that one.
That's my favorite. That is that is what got me back into Batman. I was a Marvel boy for the longest time, and I admit I'm one of those guys. Is like after the Neil Adams DC, Batman was a movie guy for me, and then the animated series came out. That kind of got me back into it, but then No Man's Land pulled me back in hard. The Gotham City is destroyed, and it has been taken over by they basically have made it, because of Cataclysm, it's useless. They can't rebuild it, and they make it no longer part of the United States. They wall it off, escape from New York. It's everybody for themselves, and the gangs take over, the villains take over. So where's Batman during all this? Well, he's actually trying to be Bruce Wayne, and he's trying to use his status as a billionaire to restore Gotham. The problem is he's done such a good job at being the playboy, nobody's taking him seriously. Everybody's like, oh, you're a waste. So he loses it. So for 6 months, Gotham just spirals. And it actually just kind of starts 6 months in. Batman hasn't been there and all that. And so all the gangs take over. You get nice spotlights on all the villains. The heroes are trying to hold their own, in there. Huntress takes up Batgirl.
Batman.
Without Batman, you can only do so much. The cops stay, and they've formed their own gang called the Blue Boys.
Where's Commissioner Gordon through all that?
He's leading the Blue Boys, so he's like the general of the cops. And it was funny because every few issues
they're still being good cops.
They're still being good cops, but they're being vigilante cops. Because there's no authority now. Nobody has to listen to them. So they're having to do some shady deals. They're having to make deals with Two-Face to take over some other gangs and stuff like that. They're having to play like a war. And Penguin's running a Casablanca-like area in the middle, and Dr. Thompson Leslie Thompson has she's got like a MASH section that nobody is allowed to fight anybody in, even Batman, and she's taking care of everybody. And at one point, Batman walks in and sees Zaz the serial killer bad guy just on a couch there, and he's like, you got to get rid of this guy. She's like, no, he's hurt.
Everybody's equal
and
here.
you're not allowed to touch him. And so I was like, oh man. So when Batman finally comes back, he's having to operate in the day, stuff he's never done before. He walks out.
Which is different because he uses the night to hide everything, make him look scarier and everything.
And he's having to rebuild the symbol because nobody cares anymore. The people aren't afraid of it
because he's been gone so long, everybody lost faith.
Yeah, one of the big scenes is he walks out and he just lets himself get shot. And then he gets back up. He's like, there's a reason I wear this bullseye on my chest. It's because that's where they're going to shoot. It's like,
That's a good point.
Yeah, so
go for the bullseye. Don't go for the easy part,
the face.
You can kill him this way.
But and then you get all these little side stories, and it builds up every villain, every character, and all the while Joker's like off the grid. Where's Joker? Everybody's wondering where's Joker is. This introduces Harley Quinn because she's a psychiatrist at Arkham Asylum. Now she'd been in the animated series, but it took no man's land to bring her into the comics.
Okay.
So. Again, we'll do a Harley episode at some point. We can go into all of that. But this series was just mind-blowing. It rebuilt DC for me. It made it real. Superman comes in and is like, I'm going to fix everything. I'm going to get the power back. I'm going to do everything in like a day. And when he helps gets this guy, this engineer from the electric plant, get the electric back up. He's lifting stuff. He's being Superman. And then, of course, suddenly he's made a new despot. This poor little engineer he had, now people are lining up begging him for power.
Oh.
And so trying to give all their money to him for power. And Superman's like, what did I do? I've just tried to help everybody. And the little guy's like, I don't know, what do I do? And then Batman's like, just get out of my town. Just get out. And then of course Lex Luthor comes in and he's got to play. This whole thing's a play for him to try to steal stuff. And of course, Batman detectives him out. So it's very cool, amazing series. You can find them all graphic novels, and definitely long reading and perfect for quarantine. So you can read a lot. I know we're about out of it, but
head up to the comic shop and grab that graphic novel.
Yeah,
that's a good thing about graphic novels. Even if the comics are gone, you can get the full story in one book.
Yeah, exactly. And not all the graphic novels have collected every little story because there were so many little side stories. But it's still pretty good. If you get the main set, you get the gist, and it's really good.
Yeah, I know. The next one, another huge one for you, Gotham by Gaslight.
Elseworlds, which is the DC What If. Now, Marvel had been doing What If for forever.
Yeah.
And that was always fun. What if Captain America was the Red Skull? What if...
so if I'm right, Gotham by Gaslight goes back to the Victorian age, doesn't it?
Yes, okay. Which Batman was always influenced by that era. So why not go back to that? And it's Batman meets... Jack the Ripper. And what if Jack the Ripper was in Gotham City? And it's amazing. The visuals are stunning. It's just early Magnolia, art from the guy who did Hellboy did most of the art for this, and the story too. And it's incredible. It's proper detective, both Victorian and steampunk.
Didn't they make an animated movie on it?
They did make an animated movie of it.
So how true is it to the comic for that?
Pieces close enough to where I enjoyed it. They expanded on it quite a bit. They added Robins. They added Robins as a street gang of urchins that were working for a Mad Hatter type, and it's pretty funny because it's Dick and Jason and Damien, and they're all
Is the girl in there too?
No, she wasn't. I was disappointed. So no Kelly, but very very well done animated. The animated movies, they should have them make the live movies at some point, just because they're incredible. But yeah, no, it was well done. Like I said, they expanded a lot of it, but then they kind of cheeseballed up a little bit more of the Catwoman stuff that wasn't in the original as much. So it's good though. I enjoyed it for what it was.
So the next one is actually one of my favorites because I'm a huge Spawn fan. So when it came to Batman vs. Spawn, that was it for me. Who would win between a fight? So the whole thing starts off, Batman hears about killings in New York City, people getting beheaded. So he goes out there, and right when he gets there, he gets attacked by this robot, and he defeats the robot, then finds a human head on it. So he's kind of wondering what's going on, and he hears some little talk from homeless people about a homeless guy with superpowers. So Batman's like, whatever, and keeps going. Sees Spawn fighting some normal thugs, and he's like, oh, this must be the bad guy. Let's fight him.
Of course.
So Batman starts winning in the first fight. Then Spawn's like, let me use my little superpowers, and beats the crap out of Batman. Batman runs. He needs to heal up. He's done. He couldn't handle it. Then they run into each other again. Well, before they run into each other, Spawn actually finds a robot, destroys him, and ends up being one of his best friends, Chuck. So then they run into each other again. They're fighting. They get worn out. Then they find out, wait, we're not fighting we're looking for the same killer. So another robot gets sent out to him, sent by Miss Love to destroy him, get rid of all the loose ends. They defeat that robot. Spawn heals Batman because he's about dead at this point. So then they find Miss Love, defeat her, but before they could defeat her, she sent a missile up. So Spawn teleports him and Batman to the missile. Of course, they stop it. Missile goes into water, no explosion. And Spawn's like, hey, we make a good team. Batman's like, I don't like you. You have no disregard for the human people. You're just a big bully. I don't like you. He's like, we do make a good team. And he's like, team this, and threw a batarang right into Spawn's face.
Ouch.
Like, stuck right into the face. I'm like,
Yeah, pretty brutal.
But it was Frank Miller that did it, and Todd McFarlane. So it was a great comic. The artwork was amazing in it.
Oh, yeah, well,
That's the best part. Then another one came out. I don't have that one with me. It's Batman Spawn, and that was by Chuck Dixon too.
that was the reverse.
So yeah.
Because usually when they do the crossovers, they're allowed to do, because it's usually two companies involved. Yeah. One will do one, and then one will do the other, and they'll have their own teams do their own stuff, which is pretty cool. So,
but I'm a huge McFarlane fan. I got Spawn tattoo. I love everything Spawn related. So seeing those two actually fight and everything was awesome.
That's pretty good. I mean, Batman is great for team ups.
Yeah,
and that's why they did.
But he never trusts anybody in the end.
Yeah, exactly. I remember it was Batman versus Predator was huge. That was one of the first big crossover things of the day. Of course, when Marvel and did their crossovers, it was Batman, Spider-Man, and then they did when it was DC versus Marvel. We finally had the ultimate question. My ultimate question was Batman versus Captain America.
Who would win?
Who would win? And in that one, it's kind of a tie. They both kind of fall into the ground. And the reason Batman wins is because Cap's rescuing somebody and Batman's going to let him die, which I thought was always, Batman wouldn't have done that either. So
no.
Batman's the guy would have figured out a way to save them both. And he kind of does. He saves Cap, who saves the guy. So that's how it winds up being this tie, and they create the Amalgam universe, which was an amazing little story. We'll have to do that someday, just because that brings us Dark Claw, which is Batman merged with Wolverine, and his Robin is combined with his Jubilee combined with Robin, which is a crazy mix.
That'd be interesting there.
Dark Claw, and the villain is the Hyena, which is Scarecrow, which is a Joker meets Sabretooth. So it was a very cool story. But now, we've got, so Batman's always good for crossovers.
Yeah.
And they finally did JLA Avengers years later, which was probably the ultimate crossover. And in that one, Batman and Cap square off again. And they do this one thing where they each just throw like 3 punches each. It's just this amazing panel. John Byrne, who did all the art for that, was incredible. And George Perez. Perez got carpal tunnel drawing all these things. But at one point they do a fight where they're and they just do a couple little throws and punches, and then Batman just stops, Cap stops, and Batman's like, all right, you could take me. You're the only person I know that could take me, but it's going to take you forever, and we don't have time, and obviously you're not the bad guy. And I love that he figured it out in like 2 seconds, but I loved it. Even Batman admitted the Cap could take him.
So then let's go ahead and talk about of course, the first showing of Batman, 66.
Yeah, well, we had the serials before that in the 40s that were Batman in name only. And then you got this, which was
Adam West,
Burt Ward,
Cesar Romero,
so
Frank
many
Gershwin,
great characters.
Lee Mayweather.
They
so
brought
many
out
people.
all the crazy villains, all the crazy gadgets and gags. the comics started being influenced by the show. The show started influencing the comics. It's the biggest show on television for 2 years.
They even did the Batman movie.
They did the
with a
movie in the
shark
middle
repellent.
of it, which kind of screwed them up because they spent so much money on that. And they were still, why would you pay to see it in the theater when it's on my TV at home next, So that kind of bataranged on them. And so they ended after the 3rd season, even though they were planning another season and all that. That just shows you how fast shows back then can come and go. And they kept saying they were going to bring it back. And now Adam West redid the character a number of times over the years. They started doing those animateds right before he died. And those were amazing.
Even Burt Ward came back as Robin last year in that big crossover.
That big crossover, yeah.
He's wearing just the colors of Robin. And
walking a dog,
he does,
I think,
he does one of his cheesy little Robin lines, Holy Bikini or whatever. So it's kind of cool just to see him kind of suit up, at least wear the same colors Robin did.
They're a super nice guy, too.
Yeah, I met both of them, I want to say Fanboy Expo before.
I think Fanboy Expo pretty recently in Tampa.
Yeah.
We got him at there was a Batman, one of the GameStop conferences was Batman was there. Adam West was there, and Burt Ward wasn't. But it was cool to meet them. And then I met Burt Ward over at Fanboy.
I've heard so many funky stories about that show during filming of their partying times.
I just liked building the was it Frank Gorshin who played Riddler?
Yeah.
And Adam West getting invited to an adult party, a swingers party, and they stayed in character the whole time, so they got kicked out. I think my favorite story is that Gorshin, the Riddler, he in one scene he stole the Batmobile. And he actually did steal it and just drove off into the night. He didn't come back just laughing the whole way. That's just how insane that guy was. Just awesome. So the Riddler did steal the Batmobile. But that show, it influenced so much because of that.
Yeah.
And that's when we got Super Friends.
Then the next time we would see live action Batman was in '89 with Michael Keaton.
Right. Yeah, all we had before that, well, there was that Super Friends TV thing that was pretty terrible. We won't talk about that. So then, Michael Keaton, again, Dark Knight Returns, all that had led up to finally us getting Batman on the big screen. Say what you like about it, it is 90s.
Tim Burton's
the fights
movie,
are a little cheesy.
Nice, dark, typical Tim Burton style.
Yeah. The suit didn't allow for much flexibility and all that. And there was a lot of controversy casting, Michael Keaton, like we're getting now with Pattinson. It's like, who can't you cast this little guy as, Mr. Mom as Batman?
But then you got Joker.
He nailed
Jack.
it. Yeah, Jack Nicholson is the Joker. You can't argue that. That is iconic casting. And
but Nicole Kidman, Vicky Vale,
a lot of great stuff. I even like Robert Wall.
Which he came back in that. Same thing last year, too. So. He was sitting, which was cool because here he is sitting on a little park bench playing himself, and there's a newspaper stand behind it, and it's Michael Keaton saying Bruce marries Catwoman, whatever her real name was, Selena Kyle. And so it's like, oh, you're bringing that universe into this for the whole crossover. And then they get killed in like 30 seconds. And they got killed pretty quickly.
All those universes ended in like
it was still cool because they gave that nod to that universe and every other superhero universe. Then Michael Keaton comes back in '92.
Returns gets a lot of flack because it went such a darker tone. I mean, it was pretty dark.
I didn't like it the first time I watched it because I didn't like Penguin. I love Danny DeVito, but I didn't like his perverted version of Penguin the whole time. But after I got a little older, I'm like, okay, I actually enjoy it more.
Yeah, you see, he's a dark, perverted guy. And you live in the sewers, and you're going to kind of grow up that way.
We get Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman.
But amazing. Michelle Pfeiffer, she could read a laundry list. I would find it alluring and sexy. She's incredible. I'd fallen in love with her since Lady Hawk. But she's incredible in this. Again, weird version of the characters,
and it's still in that Tim Burton style. So it's still got that dark, creepy overtone the whole time.
Was it Max? Oh, I forget who played Max in that. One of the big actors.
Oh my God!
Was it Walken?
Yeah, Christopher Walken.
Yeah. So yeah,
can't forget him.
We can't forget him. And again, it's definitely Burton. So
then Burton drops from doing it, and we get Batman Forever with Val Kilmer.
Yeah, he had actually. They were working on another classic because they kind of teased Robin. And it was a cut scene from Batman, the first Batman actually. There was a cut scene where the Joker wrecks a car into a circus, and kills a family, and it was going to tease Robin, and he was actually going to suit up at the end. But then we went this route instead.
Chris O'Donnell as Robin.
And Jim Carrey as
Jim
Riddler
Carrey
did a fine job, a goofy Riddler. But the weird
Tommy
thing
Lee
for us,
Jones was Riddler.
that was kind of, Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face was
Two-Face, that's
definitely, for those of us that were looking for Billy D. Williams.
Yeah,
to be
because that's
Two-Face.
who we got as Harvey Dent in the first
yeah,
movie.
he
Then
would
we
have been
get someone
amazing.
totally different.
And Tommy Lee did fine. It was just Tommy Lee being Tommy Lee, Tommy Lee Jones. So I think that's kind of the problem
Jim
with
Carrey
it.
was too over the top with his Riddler. That's my issue I had with it.
Yeah, and then I think that was Tommy Lee Jones was trying to match that, so he kind of comes across more jokery than Two-Face. And I think again that becomes just an odd situation because of that. So
Then we get a new Batman once again in '97 with Batman and Robin, which a writer just came out recently and apologized for the horrible movie.
And Kilmer had dropped out because again he was like anybody can be the Bat because he had done a couple things during Batman Forever
He did the Saint after that movie.
yeah. Well, he'd also gone to a couple school things as himself, and they're like, look, it's Batman, and the kids just didn't care. But then, some guy would come in the stunt suit and go nuts. So that's when he was like, yeah, anybody can be in the suit. So that was, we got Clooney doing this.
This movie is probably the worst one. Arnold should have not been Freeze. I said it last night. We talked about it.
Yeah.
Should have been Patrick Stewart.
He would have been a good choice, an older guy doing it. I think this one gets a little more crap than it probably deserves. I don't think it's good in any way, shape, or form.
Bane was horrible.
Bane was a mistake.
How they did Bane was horrible.
That was a mistake. And again, I think
Poison
that was kind
Ivy,
of the...
I didn't mind as much.
I think that was kind of the Spider-Man 3. Bane was popular because he had just broken the bat, so let's put him in this movie.
Let's put him
It's
in.
And
No
the director had no idea who the heck this character was.
Then we get Batgirl in it.
Yeah, Batgirl, I thought she did fine. Again, with the material they were given, I think they all were okay. I think it was weird making her Alfred's niece instead of Gordon's daughter. But, you got to take these things with the way they do. These movies, they always do that. Honestly, I thought it was passable, barely passable. And we did get Arnold Schwarzenegger singing White Christmas, which was...
I didn't like all the neon lights and everything. I prefer the darker version of
the credit card and the roller skates. Again, I thought as a kid who grew up with '66 Batman, this was kind of like a tribute to that. And I thought if they had billed it as that, this would and actually gone all out that way, I think it would have been a completely different take, and people would be talking about it like, "Wow, what an interesting take," instead of what a dumb mix, because they didn't let him go as crazy as he wanted to.
So we wouldn't get another Batman until 2005.
Because
Batman
that was
Begins.
So, divided and everything. So,
which we get Christian Bale coming out as Batman. We get Scarecrow and everything. So
now this is one that I got a lot of flack at the time because I didn't like this one.
I wasn't a fan of it. I watched it the first time and it bored me to death.
Yeah,
and I don't think I've actually watched a movie since then.
What got me on this was the whole... I won't kill this man. He goes through all the training with the ninjas, right? Goes through all the training with all these murderers, and he won't kill this one guy, but then he will blow up the entire ninja clan, including that guy he was not going to fight.
He wasn't going to kill.
He kills him, no problem, It was so weird. And I was like, what is going on? And then the voice.
Yeah.
We can't.
But then we skip to 2008. Christian Bale comes back, The Dark Knight, which is probably the best movie that he's done.
And again, I think that is more a Joker movie.
Yeah, because of Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger
I think
made
Batman
that movie.
is peripheral to that movie, and I think when we do an episode on villains, we should probably do that next week. Then you can learn more about that, because again, I think this one, the villains steal the show so much.
Yeah.
It's not a Batman movie.
And Joker.
It's the same with the last one.
Yeah.
I think the last one is the Bane
movie. Then we go to Dark Knight Returns, 2012.
It's Bane and Catwoman.
Bane.
Yeah.
And this Bane was better than the other Bane.
Yeah, he's
still not the Bane I wanted.
Not the Bane one. Not the luchador.
This was more of a
King.
terrorist type Bane.
Yeah. I was born in darkness.
Yeah.
Again, why does Tom Hardy have to have a mask and everything he wears? But
But yeah, Anne Hathaway in her little cat
it
suit.
was fine. Did a great job.
That made the movie. That was the only reason I wanted to see the movie, because I loved Anne Hathaway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who doesn't? So, but no. I think going back to Batman Begins, one of my things that got me about it, besides just the the voice and everything, there was this great. Accidentally got the DVD of it, right when the movie came out. A friend of mine was like, "Oh, let's watch Batman Begins again." I'm like, "I didn't really like it, but all right, I'll watch it again." I didn't hate it. I just didn't like it that much. It wasn't my Batman.
Yeah.
It wasn't animated series Batman.
So which we got like a minute and a half. So animated series, 92 through 95. That did so much for Batman because we got Harley Quinn. That's where Harley Quinn started.
Yeah.
And we had Mark Hamill's Joker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
The Bruce Timm
Joker
animation
voice.
style, Paul Dini, Greg Rucka, some of the best writers in the business. Of course, Mark Hamill's Joker, like you just said, incredible.
Mr. Freeze was awesome. Everybody in that show.
And the animated movies from this are still incredible. And I love that it continued on into the Justice League universe.
Yeah.
And they tried to do it with the Superman animated series using that same style and all that. It just didn't work as well. Superman needed to be a different style, but
Yeah.
it was the way they were doing things. But my favorite thing about the voice, I'll go back real quick, my Batman Begins story was we got the DVD, I popped it in, and it was set on the French language track.
Oh, God.
And that made it 10 times better because that whole scene when he jumps down, he grabs the bad guy for the first time, and we hear the voice, and it was, "Je suis Batman." So that became my call phrase for forever, was "Je suis Batman." So.
All right. I like that. So again, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, email us comicbook101tv.com, info comicbook101. Follow Mark at
ErieFlorida.com, and hopefully Miss Elizabeth will be back next week.
And that
We'll
is
just be
it.
staring at us.
We'll see you next week.